Alright, welcome to episode 41 of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode then, we had a massive civil war. The biggest civil war that's ever occurred in this entire series happened in Central Asia. And as you can see, these Central Asian countries gone. They've been split into about 12 new countries. Some of them have existed before, like the Orange and the Beige countries. But there's a lot of new ones, and other countries like Caucasia, Euralia, and whatever this place is, have gained land from this. Also Pakistan, Punjab, and I don't know, Afghanistan maybe. So that was pretty big. We also saw the beginning of the Cold War down here in Southeast Asia as the red South Indian country invaded one of the countries which was once one of the strongest countries in the world, the Yellow country, and they've now limited the number of aristocracies down to just two, which is pretty cool. There's only this last sort of country and also the Icelandic one, but not getting distracted because I'd never get distracted ever. Yeah, this country is now stronger than Bengal, which is pretty big. I remade this layer, so hopefully, yeah, South India is now the sixth strongest country. Actually, I was going to talk about the Indigo country, and then use that as an intro into this. But I suppose we can talk now about how the power rankings have been very much updated. The Spanish, as I said in the last episode, are the new strongest country in the entire world. Turkey is the second strongest. Pretty interesting what could happen between these two. Bulgaria's in third, so they've been passed over by Turkey. Korea still in fourth. Well, actually, they just moved there. Mesopotamia's fallen all the way to fifth. We have South India in sixth. Seventh is Bengal. Eighth is the Orange country. Ninth is Greece, and 10th is the Indigo country down here in southern Arabia. And I really like this country, so yeah, they're one of my favorites. It's just a random thing. Like, I had no idea what to do. Like, they're probably gonna be meh. I don't know if they'll be important in the future, but if they do anything important, it wasn't even slightly planned, and that's what I love so much about this country. It just randomly ended up becoming the strongest out of all these South Arabian rebellions. Anyway, this episode, I was like a minute before starting this episode, I was going to do a different thing entirely, but I changed my mind because that previous episode that I would have done would have been extremely boring, and it would have just been like a filler sort of thing. So instead, I'm going to do something which is very interesting, and that I've known would occur for a very long time, and that is the war down here in the Balkans. I was going to not do this video just because of the fact that in the previous there we go. The previous episode was a really big and important episode and lots of events. It was kind of a long one, and this one I don't really want to be just like that. So why are you in the wrong alliance, Libya? Libya. What are you doing in that alliance, mate? You're not meant to be in that alliance. Hello? Oh well. I guess we just... Okay, that didn't work. Why did that not work? Oh wait, don't worry. And I am a pro at this. That's what they all say. You know, they're like, oh, this guy, he's a pro. Okay. We're just not going to worry about it. I'll worry about it after this. But Libya is meant to be in the alliance, of course, with Bulgaria and Greece. Sorry, I get so sidetracked some of these times. However, if we need that layer. If we look at the other layers, we can see that there's the Holy Polish Empire, of course, and also the Triangle Alliance between the English and the Dutch. But the main one that we're looking at this point is the alliance between Hungary, Ukraine, and Turkey, who is now the second strongest country in the entire world. And these guys are both reasonably strong countries. Ukraine recently invaded Romania, and I said there might be a reason for that. And as you can see, they've now got a very big border with the Bulgarians. So there's a small plan concocted by the Turkish and their allies, and that is the plan to invade the nations of the Trapezium Alliance. They have the Diamond Alliance, these guys are the Trapezium Alliance. But yep, they want to destroy these countries and give themselves all the power in the Balkans, so they can try and take over all of Europe, I guess, and just everything else. So, it probably isn't a very nice thing to do. How are they going to do it? There is really no setup to this war. Like, no build-up or anything. Like, nobody's assassinated or anything, other than these guys just want power. It's as boring as that, unfortunately. So what we see happening is the Turkish will declare war along with the rest of their alliance on the Trapezium Alliance and then begin to invade. This is very much a surprise invasion for these guys as Turkish troops move into the Bulgarian areas of the Turkish peninsula, I suppose. Wait, do the Turkish own this island? No, they don't, never mind. They managed to push the Bulgarians pretty far back, however they cannot take Constantinople because it's very big. Greece is currently... Oh, wait a minute. That's the old purple Turkish country. You remember this guy? Purple Turkey... You remember this country. It used to be here from a very long time ago. Apparently they're back. And now they're not. Anyway, the Greeks are now the 9th strongest country, and Turkey is, as I said before, the 2nd strongest. So the Turks will have a pretty good time. Actually, we need to change that color. A pretty good time pushing the Greeks entirely out of the Turkish region. They managed to get them entirely out of the Smyrna area, but naval invasions onto Greek islands, such as Rhodes and whatever that is, don't do very well. The Bulgarians finally start to get their military together. I mean, it's pretty active. Bulgaria is a very militarized country. They're an absolute monarchy, whilst everyone else, I think, in this war is just a normal monarchy. Yeah, everyone else is just a monarchy. Even Libya is a monarchy. But Bulgaria, just absolute monarchy. People have very few rights in Bulgaria. Anyway, Ukraine starts its invasion in the north. However, this invasion will probably go significantly worse than the Turkish one, as they don't really manage to capture many major cities, except for this one, which they do manage to capture, but it's very close to the capital, so we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately for Hungary, they are in a terrible position. They're just gambling that the Greeks and their allies, I mean Ukraine and Turkey, win this war, as they really can't get much aid into their nation. The Bulgarians start to focus their own military on capturing Hungarian territory, sending it in, and capturing 3 major cities in the early stages of the war. Luckily for the Hungarians, the capital is very far away, so this will probably save them. Hopefully, maybe. Anyway, Greece has lost the eastern part of their territory. This kind of like central bit. This is like the western bit. This is the eastern bit. And the Turkish. Oh my god, purple Turkey's there as well. I'm just bad at upgrading this map. Turkey starts to navally invade some of these islands, taking Rhodes and some other major Aegean islands, along with all these stupid tiny ones. Their pushes into Bulgaria just go unsuccessfully because Bulgaria is too powerful. They do try to invade this island, and they're successful with it. However, they do not capture this city. If we head up north, we can see that Bulgaria manages to push the Ukrainians back from this area as Ukraine loses possession of all the major cities they've captured. And Bulgaria now starts its own invasion into Ukrainian territory, taking over 2 major cities in the early stages of their invasion into Ukraine as they move towards the Crimean area. Naval layer will be pretty interesting in this war. I don't actually know how to do a naval layer, but that is definitely something I'm thinking about adding in the future. The Bulgarians start to push out and make a pretty big frontline area. They do not manage to get through this though, as their main aim is to get towards the Ukrainian capital. This area is pretty rural, and the Bulgarians unfortunately do suffer a bit of defeat. But heading over to an area where they don't really suffer any defeat, it is in Hungary. We see that Bulgaria easily pushes through the Hungarian land, and this country is not weak, it's just they're not really strong enough. So they don't do quite as well. Like the Greeks, they do slightly worse than the Bulgarians, but they're still a lot stronger than Hungary. And they managed to push between both these major cities pretty confidently until another country declares war on them, being the orange team over here in Italy. Sorry, speaking malfunction apparently. Now they did not do this in coordination with the Turks and their allies. However, they will start to invade in a bit, with the ambition to take over this southern area, which I think they used to own. They probably did. They managed to take one major city. However, the fact is that this country is very, very poor. So Greece will reallocate some of its military from defending the Aegean Sea over here to fight in this orange country. So that happens, and it's not very good for you guys because the Greeks managed to send their military in and capture your capital city pretty easily. There are some mountains down here, and there's the twin cities of Naples, apparently. I didn't know about that, but oh well. They managed to make a landing in this southern bit of the boot of Italy and cut across to the Bay of Naples, but this does come at a cost to the Greeks, as the island of Crete is besieged and captured by the Turkish, along with all of these Aegean islands towards the mainland area of Greece. The Turkish are now very close to the Greek mainland, and they've even got islands like these ones over here under their possession. I might change both these colors just because I think I'll get confused potentially in the future, so give me a second. They look kind of the same, but don't worry. The Turkish really need to take over some of this area in Thrace, so they have a massive naval fight in the Sea of Marmara down here with the Bulgarians, and in the end it ends up being a Turkish victory as they make a landing on the other side of Thrace. Well, this is eastern Thrace, this is western Thrace. So I guess I mean Constantinople. The Bulgarians up north have finally managed. Okay, come on, man. Have finally managed to push the Ukrainians out of their northern territory, and they can launch a full border invasion into Ukraine now. They capture this major city very quickly and push into some of these eastern areas. If we look at countries who support other countries in this war, Ukraine is getting a lot of support from these Eastern European countries up here, like the Druidic bloc, because they kind of care about this country more. They're hoping that maybe if they win, they can force more Druidic religion into Ukraine. The Caucasians, otherwise, are funding the Bulgarians and their alliance because they don't like the Ukrainians very much. A main supporter of Ukraine is the Donbass country. The Holy Polish Empire is, of course, funding their allies in Ukraine because these guys were they were part of the Roman Empire, and they don't really like the Roman Empire that much. They're not really funding Turkey though, because they're kind of where Rome is. Nobody's really funding Libya because they're not really doing anything. That's why. However, other funding is going to Italy from areas such as just the rest of the Italian peninsula and Croatia and stuff. So that's pretty cool. The Hungarians are mostly receiving it from Holy Polish Empire. Anyway, speaking of Libya, because I just mentioned them and I just remembered that they exist, the Turkish are going to allocate some of their forces to go and invade Libya. Why are these colours so similar? Oh well. They capture these two major cities in pretty easy naval invasions before connecting up their front. I don't know who's living in this one, but probably nobody. And after that, the Turkish, with their very small division that's been sent to Libya, who is not a strong country. I may have once said they were kind of strong, not anymore. This country is not a powerful nation, and they do very, very badly against the Turkish military. I'm just recoloring the Turkish invasion force. And in the end, Turkey will capture the capital city. Libya is definitely the weak link, but it doesn't really matter if they lose Libya because they're not going to bring that much to the table anyway. In the end, we see Egypt start to invade Libya, and they take over the remainder of this Libyan territory. So, yeah, that's bad, I suppose. This offers a pretty good ground for invasions into Greece, and also with extra support from the Turks, the Orange team manages to push back a little bit more. Meanwhile, up here in Hungary, the same is still going on as the Bulgarians push this country. However, it is becoming harder as they approach the capital area, and this is causing losses on the Ukrainian front as new volunteer troops from the Holy Polish Empire are getting trained for something. I don't know what these guys are going to do, but the Holy Polish Empire is sending volunteer troops. How strange. Turkey now starts to invade the proper areas of Greece up here in western Thrace, and they move into these areas. The Bulgarians are going to try and push into the northern parts of this territory. They do a pretty good job, but they don't manage to retake any major cities, whilst the Greeks continue to lose land along the Aegean coast. The Turkish take this island and eventually land on the island of Euboea as they approach the major city that is Athens, one of the biggest cities in the Greek Empire. They make a landing on, I think it's an island, but I know this area is called Morea, as in Morea, so they make a landing here and push around this entire peninsula sort of thing, taking two major cities. They land in the, what are these islands? Ionian Islands. We used to own these as British guys, so that's funny. We got them after the Napoleonic Wars, because France occupied them, and then we took them in like 1815, and then I think we gave them back in like 1840 or 1860. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened with the history of those colonies. Anyway, the Turkish have a major victory capturing the city of Constantinople and linking up these fronts. However, it comes at a major cost as Bulgarian troops stop defending this city because it costs a lot of lives and instead push back over here in Greece as the Turkish are forced out of any cities right here in this area and all the way back to their border. The Bulgarians also, with the reimbursement of troops from the south, begin their invasion into Ukraine with renewed vigor or violence or something, as they take over the entire Crimean Peninsula and start to invade towards Dnieper or the Volga, or they kind of connect anyway, so who cares. Now they'll start to spearhead towards the Ukrainian capital in what is nearly Kiev, but Kiev's like over here, so I don't know what this is. I know Lviv's over here and Kharkiv's over here, and that's about it. I don't know. I know some more cities than that, but not really very well. Anyway, they do a pretty good job in invading into southern Ukraine, and Ukraine has lost a lot of their supplies from the south, from Turkey, as they can't really get them here through the Kerch Strait, and that's bad. But they are getting them from the Holy Polish Empire over here, and the Druidic bloc up here, so that's alright. And with more supplies coming in, as Ukraine seems more threatened, they capture this major city and manage to limit the amount of the spearhead. However, it just kind of reappears in this bit, so that's bad. Anyway, Hungary's a bit like Libya in this war, just a lot stronger, but they're still not doing very well. The Greeks capture another major city, and now they've lost all their major cities except for their capital city, and that's not where you want to be. The Hungarians will make a valiant effort with conscription, and where they push back the Bulgarians for a little bit, nearly capturing this major city until the Bulgarians just send some more troops over. They definitely got conscription as well. I mean, that's the kind of country Bulgaria is. The Greeks have actually a lot harder a battle than they thought they would, capturing the twin cities of Naples, but they do it regardless, and that's pretty good for them. Wait, oh, stupid me. Just thinking, because I have to do this afterwards, and then if I clear over any of these countries entirely, then I've got to, I've got to like find another map to do it on. So that's annoying. But if I just keep like this random pixel down here, I can use that, because Libya is not surviving this war. In fact, they are fully occupied by the Turks, and now it's not looking good for the Greeks. Going back over to the Greek front in the south, the city of Athens and the city of fake Athens are both captured, along with the remainder of Morea. They begin the trek up the southern Greek peninsula, taking over the entire Euboea area and lots of the Aegean Sea. A landing's made here in the southern area of like Thessaloniki, which I think is over here, so not quite. That might be what the province is called though, and the Turks will re-begin their invasion into the western Thrace region as they cut around this side of this sort of bay, whatever this is. Anyway, let's try to wrap this war up. Let's speed it along a bit, that's what I mean. The Bulgarians will fully invade towards the Ukrainian capital, taking the capital city and this massive lake. They also captured this major city right here, and really this war is between Bulgaria and Turkey and these other guys who decided to tag along. They get very close to these two major cities right here, but they don't manage to capture those because Turkey is starting to threaten their southern border. They capture these two major cities, and now the Turkish are on a roll. Bulgarian people, I said once when Bulgaria got created, like a ton of episodes ago, were very grateful for the help the Romans gave them in their war when they captured the country and made Bulgaria into an absolute superpower, coming out from the independence after episode 13. So Bulgarians are very grateful for that, and we see lots of Turkish people actually living in these territories. Greece is also doing incredibly badly at this point, as they lose their entire access to the Aegean Sea and all of this territory. Back over here in Italy, the Greeks have been forced to give up all their territory over here in the Okay. Do you think that's what I want you to do? It's not. In the Italian peninsula, as the Orange country will fully fully occupy all of that. The Egyptians, the Orange team, aren't really sending that many troops, but the Orange team will try to weaken the Greeks by trying to make landings over here, which they do very badly in an effort to stop the Greeks ever going back to Italy, which probably won't work. The Hungarians start to push back into the Greeks as well, but Bulgaria sends more troops from the Ukrainian front and also the southern Turkish front, where they're doing very, very badly at this point, to go fight back against the Hungarians because that is apparently the priority. Turkey now has some of the worst battles of this war, fighting up against the Greek major populous areas around the capital, where apparently there are no cities, which makes no sense. But the capital is taken, unfortunately for the Greeks, and they start to slowly lose more and more territory. The Bulgarians are now trying to desperately save their Greek allies, as up in the north, Ukraine starts to make a major pushback. They retake the capital city, and an invasion into Crimea is also very much assisted by. Yeah, we need that lake back. That is very much assisted by the Turkish forces in the south. They go from the capital and help to invade out in Crimea, and slowly but surely the Bulgarians are being forced back to their home territory. The Greeks are entirely pushed out of Hungary, and it looks like this really could be about over for these guys. The Hungarians take back most of the major cities except for the ones along the Bulgarian border, and over here in the Bulgarian area we see just a full-on Turkish invasion into these territories. Other countries in support of Turkey start to send their forces too. The Holy Polish Empire forces are also here. And finally, with the Ukrainians in the north, managing to fully push out the Bulgarians, it looks like Bulgaria is going to capitulate. We see all these full northern areas taken, and finally the Ukrainians capture the capital city. Even the Orange team actually manages to do stuff, making a landing in this territory, but the Greek military is basically out of it. The Turkish will fully capture the entirety of Greece, and as the remainder of the Bulgarian country. Let's just be nice to Hungary and let them have it. And there you go. There is the end of this war. I'm not going to do the peace treaty in this episode. I'm going to do it after this. But what I need to do now is go and do some other diplomatic stuff, because as I mentioned before, we're not going to do much colonization in this video. I'm just going to do a very little bit. But we need to go over here to India to just do one minor thing. But first off, okay, dude, you need to colonize northern Borneo, so they do that. Good for you. And you can take this island too. But let's go over here to the red Indian country, because lots of people don't really like their nation. However, they see opportunity. Not really in people not liking them, but more, what is that layer? Is trade routes? Oh, it's alliances. Yeah, that makes sense. That is what I was looking for, so don't worry. But the whatever shape you are, shape? Bro, get with it, get with it. The red team. Yes. Oh my god, I am not with it right now, guys. The southern Indian country will be creating the Pentagon Alliance, and they'll be adding the green country up here in the north. The green country feels like they've been wronged in the past, and they want revenge for that. And okay, and they see the southern Indians as the opportunity of a way out. This is going to escalate tensions in southern India even more. If we look at the alliance layer, we can see that well, the parallelogram alliance isn't going to exist for much longer, which means we'll only have the triangle, square, diamond, circle, and also now the Pentagon alliances in these territories. But it looks like the Bengali country could also make its own alliance in the future. Countries in this area, like, what do they think about these different sides? India very much likes Bengal. Bengal has supported them across all of their wars. We should probably pull up ideology as well. Okay, that might be helpful. These three guys are absolute monarchies, which are more intertwined with this guy. Most of the councils like the Bengali country. None of these guys like Bengal, but they don't like each other either. So I guess they could potentially work with you, but we'll see what happens with that. All four of these guys like Bengal. Don't know if Bengal likes them. That is a good point. You're not really maybe thinking about. These two guys hate each other, so we'll see if they actually decide to join his side, and whether or not they can put their differences with the major powers behind, just because they hate each other so much. Guangxi doesn't love Bengal, but they don't really hate them either. Orange China, if we're going to go this far afield, has more claims on the Bengali country than the red team, and well, they do have a good deal with Bengal for going through the Strait of Malacca. There we go. I'm just stupid apparently. But there you go. So we haven't really got to that point yet, but we'll see which other alliances appear in the future, if any, and how tensions rise going on in the future of this bit. To be fair, we could look at ideology if you want, because we haven't really looked at the full map ideology in a while. Most countries are monarchies. The block of theocratic countries here has grown with the addition of this country, this yellowish thing. But other countries may join. Denmark's still a democracy, they're just not important really. And yeah, a majority of countries are monarchies, except in this area where they're still monarchies, just absolute monarchies. See theocracies down here, lots of theocracies up there, warrior thing over here, oligarchy down here, and actually, yes, that's the other thing I was going to be doing. Because the green country not only joins the Southern Indian Alliance, but they also switch their government over to an oligarchy, as the king, just in a way to appease the red team, kind of just puts his family on the throne. But it's not quite that. It's more other rich people, who are mostly nobles, but some businessmen and stuff, are able to take control of the country, because the country is doing pretty badly. So they hope that if you just collaborate together, maybe they can save their nation. So there you go. That is the end of this episode. Also, the colonial powers probably like this guy more, because they gave Spain a city. But they are very far away, so I doubt they're going to get involved in a possible confrontation between Bengal and the southern Indian nation. Regardless, if you enjoyed today's episode, like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, comment things you'd like to see in the future. And goodbye. Have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.